So Fitzy wanted to wait. I'm going to bring in Bill Barnwell right now.
There we
Who
go.
is the smartest person we have on here. Bill Barnwell, welcome, sir. You heard the question. You heard Doug's answer. Do you have any agreements, disagreements? Anyone come to mind?
To me, this is a draft situation just because of the depth that we've seen in this year's draft class. I think Doug's exactly correct in terms of if you get your shopping done in free agency for the spots that have to be filled. Left tackle, we're going to talk about, I'm sure, probably wide receiver, probably a speedier wide receiver. Edge rusher, I assume, is going to be part of the discussion here. If you get those spots filled and you're now free to go best available player deep into the draft, not just in round 1, because I don't think they're going to be an Ashton Jounty team, but maybe in round 3, round 4, where you have those later picks. Maybe they're trading down, moving around during the draft. To me, I don't think there's anything wrong with the idea of adding a player to that running back depth chart, even if you do still believe Ramondre Stevenson is going to be your guy.
Yeah, and Ramondre Stevenson certainly still has the potential to be the guy. I think, like we said earlier in the show, like people in the building still believe in him, but smart teams do take a running back every few years, just to add a little bit more juice and youth to that position. Bill, first of all, I want to say thank you so much for joining us on this show. Bill's one of my good friends, so always good to see you and chat with you. I know you're coming here with a little bit of a different perspective, a lot of Patriots-centric experts.
I'm not Mike freaking Reese I'm following on the show. Ridiculous.
I know it's always right. I mean, he's a living legend, Bill.
I'm the Cam Newton of this show. Is what it boils down to.
Yeah, but
at least you're not Jared Stidham.
You're talking to the Cam Newton stan here, who appreciates the fact that he tried really hard and brought some energy. Plus,
that Seahawks game was fun.
You have great flow too, so
we're not setting up though Field Yates to be the Mac Jones that follows.
Ooh. Oh no, that is
Oh no!
I just got an email. Sorry guys, I'm busy. Can't make my 9 o'clock time. Field Yates.
I think that makes Michael Hurley the Bailey Zappi, which does seem somewhat fitting, but
catching strays and he's not even here.
Listen, multiple strays already in this show, but like I said, you're coming from a national perspective here.
Yep.
For you, what does the ideal offseason for the Patriots look like? Do they try to fill all their needs? Do they spend a bunch of money in free agency? Do they make some trades? What do you think they should do as we head into March 10th?
Okay, so I think there's a few non-negotiables for me, right? I mean, obviously, if a DK Metcalf comes available for a 5th-round pick, you'd make that trade probably, but you get the idea. I mean, it's not just there are certain things that are nice if you can get them, and there are certain things that are just total non-negotiables. To me, I think it starts with the offensive line. It starts with left tackle. You have to have a solution you feel confident is going to be, at least if he's healthy, is going to start 17 games at left tackle. Whether that's Ronnie Stanley, whether it's someone else, whether it's a guy you're drafting, that thing that Belichick did where they were rotating linemen in and out as the year would go along, guys seemed like they would kind of have jobs or kind of not have jobs depending on who it was. That does not work. It works when you're winning. It does not work when you're struggling. We saw last year there were guys who were going from off the street to into the starting lineup and vice versa. That's just not sustainable. I would say a left tackle, and also on the right side, I think the Kraft should have to publicly apologize if at any point Mike Onwenu is moved from right guard to right tackle or left guard. If that possibility is brought up, he has to stay in one spot. This should be the Kraft should have to apologize at Patriot Place if they move him at any point. So having an offensive line where just everybody's in the same spot, where you can build some continuity, where you know what the guy next to you is going to do, where you know what the guy's next to you's name is, which I feel like was probably not the case for the Patriots at different points last year. So you fix that. Mentioned adding some speed at wide receiver. I don't know if that's a Darius Slayton. I think the Tutu Atwell signing is a little ominous for the free agent class just because it felt like, a guy who's kind of a marginal player. I kind of had him in the $4 million range, got 10 guaranteed. Makes me think that there's a market for, I think Jeremy Fowler put it, those speedier guys, just not that many of them. A lot of veterans are in free agency, but not a lot of the speedy downfield guys. So that's going to be a concern to me. I think they have to address that at some point. If that involves moving Jalen Polk inside and maybe trying a different solution there in the slot, I think that's fine. I don't think you're giving up on the guys you have, but clearly you don't have enough at receiver. And then I think you're adding some kind of edge rusher to take some of the pressure off of Keon White, hopefully take some of the pressure off of Christian Barmore, hoping he's back. Having some sort of just guy who can win one-on-one, which they did not have after they traded Matt Judon. I think that's the third thing for me. If you can get those 3 non-negotiables set up, I think from that point forward, you're looking at something closer to let's take the best player available. Let's see who comes available. Let's see who comes open. And then you can kind of operate from there.
Well, Bill knows how football games are won, and obviously getting big and getting strong in the trenches again, Bill, has been a predominant theme to tonight's talk, as it has all off season long. So we have a super chat to that point. How many offensive linemen in a perfect world do you think the Patriots should add this offseason? Thank you very much, Devin Curry, for your generous donation tonight.
Yeah. What, 15, 20, 25?
I was going to say like 7.
Actually, Doug, Bill, we also would have accepted yes.
Yes is a very good answer.
Answer.
I think it depends on what kind of lineman you're adding, right? I mean, certainly it feels like David Andrews is going to be locked in at one spot. Onwenu is going to be locked in at a spot. Who knows what we're getting with Cole Strange? If you want to bring Cole Strange back, if you're trading him, maybe, who knows what that situation looks like. There are some players coming back from last year. I think you need at least 2 guys who are locked in starters week 1. Whether that's a draft pick, whether it's Stanley or a veteran, that begin there. And then I think if you can add depth, there's nothing wrong with adding depth, given how many injuries they had last year, given how difficult of a position that is. Maybe they play more 6OL sets. Maybe they go to more jumbo packages. Mike, we're talking about a guy here, Mike Vrabel, who is the king of, weird offensive touchdowns. There's nothing weird about the idea of having extra offensive linemen. So to me, I think you could credibly add 4, maybe two starters and 2 guys you feel like are going to be solid depth players, or people you feel like you're not going to be panicked about if they're in the starting lineup at some point. So I would say 4 is a realistic number to me.
Yeah, I think when people are this thorough covering a league nationally, like your old coworker Zach Lowe, who I listen to religiously, like more than my wife, more than my mother, anyone in my life, about
neither are listening right now, so it's fine.
I like to envision them as being like the GM. What would their front office kind of look like? And as we kind of come into free agency here, I'm wondering, you, Bill Barnwell, GM of this, let's say, empty team that has a ton of needs. Maybe they're even local to us, the New England Patriots. What are some under the radar free agents you go, there's an inefficiency here that I can exploit? There's great value with player X, Y, and Z. Who's Bill Barnwell, GM, looking at in this class?
Ooh, okay, I'll give you a couple guys. On the offensive line, I'll go Patrick McCarry, the Ravens offensive lineman who's played everywhere on the offensive line. He's played left tackle. Yeah. He's played all 5 positions. He's obviously a super versatile player. He's not going to have a huge salary because he only has a little bit of starting experience. Only started the last couple of years, really. Last year was really his first year as a full-time locked-in week 1 starter. The Patriots fans probably don't need me to say that it can be valuable to have a guy who could play multiple positions. Again, I want to leave Mike Onwenu in one spot, but the idea of, okay, if we sign Ronnie Stanley and Ronnie Stanley gets hurt, we have a guy who has experience at left tackle who's played credibly there before. That's promising to me. And then
what about Zeitler? Do you like Kevin Zeitler's available? Do you like him?
I do. There's certainly like just an experience level that I think is nice. He's not going to go to the wrong guy on double teams level that I think is nice. And that at the end of the day might be part of it. Is just, again, having a guy you just feel confident you can just plug in. And just feel like, okay, even if he's not a solution for the next 15 years, at least we know he's not going to get Drake May killed. That to me feels like a step in the right direction. On defense, it's maybe Dayo Odangbo, the Colts edge rusher. Really good underlying numbers, not great sack numbers last year, but good numbers the year before. A player who can play on the inside on passing downs, move around a bit. Probably going to play edge most downs, but maybe a little bit more versatile than a traditional edge rusher. I think those are all positives. I think, again, this team's defense, second half of 2023, they were the best defense in football by EPA per play and points per drive. They were really good on defense, and the reason that Jordan was not here to me is that they fell apart on defense last year. If they get another pass rusher in the mix, you have Christian Gonzalez, who I think is a top 3 cornerback in the NFL. That to me is a defense that's going to be very good. And if we think about how the Patriots can get good fast, I think the defense is more likely to be the driver of that than the offense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, things could not be worse this year on the offensive line than they were last year. Like I kind of feel like people forget that Ben Brown was signed on a Thursday and started on a Sunday. Like just straight, like
he was Baker Mayfield going to the Rams.
Yes. Yeah. You mentioned guys who didn't know their teammates' names. Ben Brown could not remember 52 names in a 3-day span. So that was as bad as it gets. They know they can't trot Vidarian Lowe out there again this season at left tackle. So they know that one way or the other, they have to bring someone in there. I know this seems a little bit far-fetched, but if the Patriots were to make like a Commanders type improvement this offseason. If they were to sneak into the playoffs somehow,
Okay.
What's the blueprint for that for the Patriots?
Okay. So you're looking at some regression towards the mean in terms of turnover regression. And they were, what was it? They're like minus 11, I think, last year in that range for the Patriots. Usually when teams are in that range, that tends to actually improve year after year. The Commanders were the worst team in football by turnover margin the year before. So that is something that you would expect to improve. It's just, it's so hard to have a really sustainable turnover margin year after year. So if you're really bad at it, it's weirdly good for you moving forward. It's bad for you that year, but it's good for you the next year, which seems kind of weird, but it is true. So you're looking at that. I think the red zone offense, just like the number of disasters they had in the red zone, you feel like that has to improve year after year. They have to be healthier on the line of scrimmage. I think that's part of it as well. The Commanders were one of the healthier teams in the league into the postseason. I mean, think about how many times they played a team. They played the Bucs in the postseason without a bunch of starters. The Lions, who were down like, what, 2/3 of their defense in the postseason. Like that was a big thing for them, just being healthier than the teams they were facing. And then I think you're looking at an offense that is more consistent. I mean, we saw big plays from Drake Maye last year, but we saw too many games where they would go 4 or 5 drives with 3 and outs without scoring points, taking too many sacks. I think it's eliminating a lot of negative plays. And for Jaden Daniels, they were really great on 4th down, which extended a lot of drives. They were really good on 3rd down, and he was really good at avoiding negative plays. He would turn sacks into incompletions. He would turn incompletions to 4 or 5 yard scrambles. I think that stuff, it doesn't feel like it's a big thing, but it adds up. It accumulates over time. It leaves you on the field more often, makes the defense a little fresher as drives go on. The field position's a tiny bit better for the defense when they take over, even if it turns into a punt from the offense. So I think that stuff, just avoiding the disasters, to me, I think is a big step in the right direction. And that could lead to, I think, a really positive step for the Patriots moving forward.
So you are a Drake Maye fan, would you say?
Yeah. I mean, I would not admit it if I were on the show and I was not a Drake Maye fan, just for my sheer safety. But I mean, how can you not be? I mean, you saw him compete all year, make plays all year. You saw, I think, more than glimpses of the guy the Patriots were hoping to see. I think you saw some negative habits and some issues related to the offensive line that I'm hoping you're going to see, corrected with the better coaching staff, with a more consistent offense, with a better run game. But I think he's in a really good spot. He's not as good as Joe Milton. I mean, we saw what Joe Milton did in Week 18, but besides he's pretty good.
Right. He doesn't do backflips like him as well, and he doesn't throw touchdowns on the run against the 4th defense of the Buffalo Bills quite as well.
That pass is going to linger with me for 30 years. I'm going to be in my 70s. Going to be like, Joe Milton rolled out to the left and hit that dude. What? That was insane.
Dude, he threw a dot on that play. Do you have any idea how many Bud Lights were spilled as unnecessary high fives were exchanged in the stadium? I felt them raining down on me in the end zone before I asked a superfluous quiz question to give away.
There's going to be 40,000 people who were going to pretend they were at that game and say, I saw Joe Milton make that throw.
It's like the final Ted Williams game. I saw his final home. I was there with my mother, my dead grandfather. It's the stuff of legend for sure. Bill, can't thank you enough, man. That was awesome. Just Doug, thank you for putting this together and bringing Bill on board. We love reading your stuff. Everything, of course, that everyone can get that isn't behind paywall, but the stuff that is worth paying for as well. Follow him on the socials at Bill Barnwell. Great stuff. Hopefully we'll do this again sometime soon under better pretense as well. But everything that you've done tonight and the energy you brought towards the cause is awesome. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks so much, Bill.
Guys.
Thanks, Bill.